sponsors of this concert this evening as part of our centennial celebration. I want to thank all of the musicians who have participated or are participating in this concert. It's a special pleasure for me to introduce Jack Drucker. Jack is the organizer of the concert. He is a member of the board and Friends of Bellevue Avenue Library. He has musical talents, as you'll hear in a few minutes, playing the flute. And he's also an accomplished director and actor, because I had the pleasure of seeing him recently. He had a very moving performance. So without more ado, I'll turn this over to Jack. Thanks very much.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for being here. And a huge thank you to all the wonderful musicians who have volunteered in this effort. I must admit I'm a little speechless. A lot of what I was going to say was just said, without all of the self-congratulatory aspects of it. But I hope that you have a wonderful time tonight, and I'm going to, without much further ado, please mute your cell phones. That's a good idea. I haven't yet entered the 21st century, and I always forget to say that, but mine's muted. Okay. And without further ado, I would like to introduce our music historian for the evening to set the stage for us, Roland Hutchinson. Just a few words. I know that Roland is a viola da gamba specialist and that he's taught at Montclair State University as well as other places.
Speaking of entering the new century, American music's 100 years ago. In the next several minutes, I'd like to invite you to consider some of the various strands of musical culture that would have been around and in the air exactly 100 years ago here in Montclair, as well as slightly further afield in these United States. I also want to give you some idea of how I see the strands as having begun to interact with one another, and I want to talk a little bit about the material conditions of music production and consumption a century ago. Music as business, as product, as technology. As it is my normal stomping ground as a musician, I'll start with what's called concert music, or sometimes art music, or more often, although it's a bit of a misnomer, classical music. When we talk about high musical culture just before the First World War, we use words like romanticism, impressionism, modernism. It was clear by 1914 that the musical romanticism, represented by the great 19th century composers who still form the core of our symphonic and classical concerts today, that had pretty much run its course. Brahms and Tchaikovsky were gone, and although some younger composers like Rachmaninoff would continue composing in a romantic style for decades to come, there had been a distinctly modernist break in the music at the beginning of the century. Composers like the former director of the New York Philharmonic, the Austrian Gustav Mahler, the German Richard Strauss. In France, some were calling the music of the young Claude Debussy, unless there was never to be an old Claude Debussy. They were starting to call that impressionist. The Ballet Russe in Paris had premiered Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring in 1913. It was the obligatory riot at its first performance, which perhaps set the tone for the developing notion of advanced music in the 20th century. Meanwhile, back in old Vienna, where Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven, and Schubert had come out once upon a time, the 40-year-old Arnold Schoenberg was still gradually feeling his way towards frank atonality, music entirely devoid of key center or traditional harmony. And in America, a very obscure amateur composer named Charles Ives, who had been organist down at the church on the green in Bloomfield, by the way, had in 1908 posed his unanswered question in the form of a chamber work, and was still working on his Concord Sonata for piano, two works that later came to be recognized as masterpieces of American modernism. America was still a net importer of high culture from Europe at this period. Nonetheless, American composers and performers had begun to make a very serious name for themselves in the world during the second half of the 19th century. Louis Moreau Gottschalk, pianist and composer, was followed nearer to the century's end by composers such as John Mills Payne, Horatio Parker, who was Ives' teacher, by the way, Edward McDowell, George Chadwick, and then Arthur Foote, who we'll hear a bit from tonight, Charles Thompson Griffiths, who was buried in Bloomfield Burying Ground. I seem to know a lot about Bloomfield, right? Daniel Gregory Mason. And by 1914, indeed, American women had also come to international prominence. The composer Amy Cheney Beach, in 1914, had just returned from 2 years in Europe and had settled in for a stay at the McDowell Artist Colony up in New Hampshire. Now, the best-known American-born instrumentalist internationally at the time was probably the violinist Maud Powell, who was then at the height of her career. American musical institutions were well established. In New York City, the New York Philharmonic Orchestra, and its then rival, the New York Symphony Orchestra, which had its home at Carnegie Hall, same Carnegie who brought us the Carnegie Library, brought us the hall, which had been there since 1891, Carnegie Hall. The Juilliard School and the Mannes School of Music were all very much on the scene already in 1914. Music had earned a place even in the public school curriculum thanks to the leadership of hymn tune composer Lowell Mason, lately of Orange, New Jersey, possibly the only person in the history of music to have become a millionaire by composing hymn tunes. That's another story. American universities, including Harvard, Yale, and Columbia, were training composers, not so much performers or historians, but composers in the classical tradition. Also in 1914, the British folklorist Cecil Sharp, did he say Cecil? I have no idea. First best visited America. He would play a leading role in making Americans aware of American folk music, particularly the music of Appalachia, which derived in part from old British ballad and dance traditions that he was particularly interested in. Other orally transmitted musics coming to broader attention around that time included Native American musics. Another European, the Czech composer Anthony Dvorak, brought these to the attention of a broader American public, especially to the attention of American composers. Dvorak was teaching and composing in America from 1892 to 1894, and the resulting wildly successful symphony from the New World, you may know that some of you, yes, incorporated melodies, at least in the style of both Native American and African American music. American composers such as Arthur Farrell and Miss Beach, among others, followed Dvorak's lead and his advice, incorporating Native American melodies into their concert works. Now, African American tunes, these had been poached and appropriated all along, of course, by the minstrel show and the blackface vaudeville entertainer, for starters, and then on the concert stage by things like Jubilee and Chadwick's Symphonic Sketches, 1907, a white American composing an impression of Southern, i.e. largely black, musical themes. But we also had African Americans drawing on their own traditions for art music, such as the concert spiritual arrangements by Harry Burleigh, a student of the Dvorak's, and these are still performed and very much treasured today. We have also Scott Joplin composing not only Salon waltzes and ragtime, for which he is justly celebrated, but also producing an opera on African American themes in more senses than one in his Tremontian of 1911. I think we're going to do that on the program too. It was, alas, not ever produced fully staged until 1972. That. And then there's the blues. The first published blues was W.C. Handy's Memphis Blues in 1912. Handy was a formally trained African-American musician who grew upon the Mississippi Delta oral tradition that he had gone out of his way to study, on his way to becoming known himself as Father of the Blues. He studied well. And finally, jazz. Now, jazz hadn't really arrived on the scene in 1914. It's still the age of ragtime. There were some pop versions of ragtime going on in the Big Apple. They're starting to sound pretty jazzy, but the first actual appearance of the word jazz in print wasn't until the following year, 1915. First recordings by white musicians adopting the tradition or imitating it, 1917. But in any event, the die had been cast down in New Orleans, not so much melting pot as pressure cooker as it was. The Roaring Twenties were just around the corner, about to roll in. Now, what about musical theater, all its forms? Opera, dear old opera. It was popular entertainment in Italy, high art in Germany, spectacle and an excuse for dancing in France. And we never knew quite what to make of it in America. Like the other arts, it depended entirely on private philanthropy for its financial support. The Metropolitan Opera got its start in 1883 and performed not only in New York City, but also on national tours that would continue annually until 1986. The biggest star of opera in 1914 was, of course, the tenor Enrico Caruso, who was indeed what we might today call a crossover artist. Every family with a phonograph seemed to own at least one or two of his recordings, even if they did not otherwise listen to opera. The lighter side of opera was the operetta, with roots in French opera comique and German Singspiel, as well as the English Savoy operas, Guilford and Sullivan. Here the big names are European-born composers who settled in America, Irish-born, German-raised Victor Herbert, and then later Austro-Hungarians like Sigmund Romer and Rudolf Frimmel. Then there was the more vernacular and more nearly homegrown musical world of Broadway, literally vernacular in as much as they sang in English. This was long before Oklahoma, before even showboats, so the Broadway musical offered rather insubstantial plots as an excuse for singing and dancing, though I suppose the same can be said of a serious opera. So. And of course, there was no pretense to a plot at all. There was the musical review. This Ziegfeld Follies ran from 1907 to 1931, so they would have been familiar in 1914. And of course, there was vaudeville, where individual acts could feature anything from opera to Tin Pan Alley, popular tunes of the day, or anything in between. I want to conclude these remarks with just a word about how people listen to music. By 1914, music had been big business for quite a while. The first million-seller hit was Charles W. Harris's song, After the Ball, which you may remember from Fleming's Daisy. It was quite a bit. It sold 1 million copies. It sold 1 million copies as sheet music. Or if you wanted to hear music at home in 1891, you absolutely had to make it for yourself. Pianos were found in every prosperous American home, and indeed in many not so prosperous ones. Another big business, piano manufacture, with hundreds of companies involved, and easy payment plans. Aspiring upwardly mobile lower middle class family. From the 1880s onward, New York's fabled Tin Pan Alley on West 28th Street was the center of commercial music publishing, specifically the creation, promotion, and publishing of popular songs as sheet music. This was the beginnings of the Great American Song Bands. Irving Berlin was, of course, the best known established composer here. This Alexander's Ragtime Band was a mega hit in 1911. And of course, a young song plugger whose name you might recognize, George Gershwin, had also started with Tin Pan Alley. In 1914, the very year we're talking about, Berlin and others founded the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, ASCAP, which is still very much with us. I hope the library has got its license paid out. Protecting the interests of its members, particularly the copyright interests of songwriters and publishers. Now, by 1914, this do-it-yourself culture had started to change. Two new inventions had come along, the player piano and the mechanical phonograph. Phonograph was purely mechanical. Electric recording was still a decade in the future, amplified playback even later. In 1914. In fact, we were just sort of settling on this disc rather than the cylinder as definitively the form of the phonograph, right? Edison had just capitulated a couple of years earlier and started producing discs as well, cylinders. Not compatible with the bigger talking machine discs, but they were discs. Anyway, format wars, nothing new. So you didn't have to buy sheet music and play it yourself. And you didn't have to do that anymore if you didn't want to. Other technology, of course, followed in due course. Radio broadcasting, experimentally in 1916, commercially in the 1920s, and the talkies, LPs, and 45s, all of which helped to spread American popular music around the world. Car radios, car stereos, tape cassettes, the Walkman, personal stereos, most recently the internet, MP3s, streaming, downloads, the iPad, and the smartphone. But now, for an evening at least, let us drop the electronically intermediating technology, as we thankfully from time to time can still do. Listen to the generous sampling of early 20th century music performed live in front of our very ears, totally old school, in the very same room in which you are sitting. From this talented array of musicians from our very own community who are about to stand before you. So with that, I'll hand back over to Jack, who will introduce the substantive portion of tonight's program, which consists not of talking about music, but of music itself. Thank you.
tonight. The Montclair Opera Club here in Montclair was founded in 1925, so next year we will be celebrating our 90th anniversary. Of course, that was a medley from Irving Berlin, and as we just heard from our historian, he had already written hundreds of songs. By 1914, 2 of the songs we sang, Alexander's Ragtime Band, and Play a Simple Melody, you would have heard in 1914. The next song I'm going to sing for you was actually published in 1914 by W.C. Handy. As we also just heard, the father, who's known as the father of the blues, and is St. Louis Blues.
Here
tonight. Before we do that, I just want to introduce first our fabulous accompanist, Mr. Barry Spatz. I would also like to say a special thank you to the Mel Chords who volunteered their time to come tonight. Steve Libben, Richard Carson, Matt King, Ellen Blankheim, and I'm Julie Arts. The song was written in 1918 by Irving Berlin, although it didn't become popular too much later. God bless America.
Let's hear it one more time for the mellow chords. Programs that you have don't have any former bios on them, but there's a separate sheet on the table there in case you might want to, at some point during the evening, take a look. Another thing that you should know is that we do have a bathroom in this building. That might be important at some time. But basically, to get there, you would walk down that aisle of books and go down the stairs, and they're right at the bottom of the stairs. We are now going to present a flute and clarinet piece for you with orchestra. With the orchestra will be my son, pianist Jonathan Drucker, and I am joined by Amy Crafton, who is a fabulous clarinet and sax player, and I will do my best to keep up with them playing the flute. It is by Victor Herbert, who we've heard a few things about him already. He grew up in Germany and started his career in Austria. And he and his wife, who was a singer, came to the United States in the 1880s, I think, to work at the Metropolitan Opera, where they worked for quite a few years, maybe 10 years, I think. And during that time, he was a cellist primarily, but also a conductor and a composer, and he became the conductor of the Pittsburgh Symphony for about 8 years, and then formed his own orchestra, the Victor Herbert Orchestra. And I think that he figured out that a really great way for him to thrive as a composer was to write operettas. You'll hear that this music is kind of in that vein, although there's no singing. Hope you enjoy it. I don't know if we're ready yet. And now I'd like to present to you the Opera Theater of Montclair.
I I'm Mia Ryder-Murray, and I'm the general director of the newly founded Opera Theater of Montclair. We founded this company January 2013. We've been doing monthly fundraising events ever since. And Rebecca Eng here, who is the music director for the company. We just barely raised enough money in the past year and a half that we're going to be doing our first full-scale production in early December. We're doing Verdi's Nabucco. And it's probably going to be at the Unitarian congregation. We're not 100% sure of it, but anyway. So, if you'd like to get more information about the company, please do talk to me later in the evening. I'd love to put you on the mailing list. We're doing events all the time. We're talking about maybe doing the magic flute, maybe in this very room. So, so there's a lot going on. I'm going to introduce a couple of singers from my company. It's our company. It's Montclair company. Anyway, I'm going to introduce Isaac Greer, who's going to be doing an aria from Treemonisha, which, frankly, I didn't even know Scott Joplin wrote an opera. I mean, I was an opera major, but so what? Doesn't mean anything, I didn't know. So now I know, so I learned it here. But anyway, Isaac traveled from Queens to be here tonight, wonderful singer. And after him, we're going to hear Warren Carr, who's a wonderful local tenor. And he's going to do something from the Super Press. So I'm going to clear the stage here. But please do talk to me later in the evening.
in the trees lie the echo of my longing, while all around you my dreams are wrapped wrong. My love, my joy, my hope, my dear, your heart will tell you when I am near. Lean from above while I pour out my love, for you know to my life you are dear. Oh, hear my longing cry, oh, love.
It was from French Doll, and the composer, of course, is George Gershwin, and his lyricist was Buddy DeSilva. And a funny little story about this song is DeSilva walks into Gershwin's office, and he's like, "We're gonna write a hit." And Gershwin's like, "Okay." And he starts playing this little improvisational melody, and he loves it so much. He's like, "Oh, great, awesome, I love that." Probably didn't say awesome. Let's do it again. And that became this hit song from 1922. Tell me, what did you do to me? I just got this feeling that's new to me. When your two lips were pressed to mine, when you held me, I wasn't snuggling. You should know I really was struggling. I only met you, and I shouldn't let you. I might say no, 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 but do it again. My lips just ache to have you take the kiss that's waiting for you. You know if you do, you won't regret it. Come down again. Oh, no one is near. I may say, oh, 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 but no one will hear. My body scolded me 'cause she told me it was not even then. Oh, do it again. Please do it again. All right, I'm going to introduce the next one. So the next piece is By the Light of the Silvery Moon, and I'd like to welcome Amy Crafton again up to perform with us the lovely clarinetist. So this song was composed in 1909. It was a very popular song, one of many moon-related songs that came out of Tim Panelli. And a little fun fact, this became a movie in 1953 with a movie by the same title, starring Doris Day. So it's just a popular song. I'm sure you've all heard it. So enjoy. We're making a plan. In this time period, parlor music was very, very, very popular in American culture, and salon music, if you will, Americana style. Musicians would get together and play for the evening, so that's what's happening.
Place dark, sea dark, silvery moon is shining through the trees.
in Act 2, where they sit down, have some tea, and imagine their future together. And fun fact about this, it was the most played song on the Lord's Wealth Show. With over 1,000 performances, it was in 67 episodes.
So this is a clarinet for big girls.
Woo!
I actually started on this when I was a little kid. I didn't feel like it was in cases of slip. Alexander's Ragtime Band was one of the most popular songs of this time period that we're discussing tonight. And everyone, almost, attributes it to Irving Berlin. But rumor has it that Scott Joplin started the melody. And American history being what it is at that point of time, he may or may not have gotten credit for it. But Irving Berlin made it what it is today, and started the craze. Alexander's Ragtime Band started sort of the craze of jazz amongst mixed groups of people, different ethnic backgrounds and socioeconomic backgrounds and whatnot. And during this time period, it was really, really important because America was a mess financially and heading into the wars and all of that stuff. And so this was, again, pollard music at home a lot. And jazz, that was a scandalous word, actually. It started out, actually it comes from, it is. And there's a funny quote that's saying that if anybody actually knew the etymology of that word, Avenue Library. Etymology. Here you guys can do this. Anyway, it means to move vigorously or strenuous activity. And the quote is that people in polite company knew what that word came from. In the Creole word of to joss or to jazz, they wouldn't mention that word in polite company. So this was all that time period. Yes, think about it. So, this is Alexander's ragtime band. And a lot also in that time period, people played with what they had. So Ginny has been blessed with a beautiful voice, and I've been blessed with a lot of equipment. This is our version, and shares, you know. Alexander's ragtime band. Play with what you have. I'm sorry.
While she's adjusting,
Oh, yes, would you?
everybody recorded this. Sophie Tucker, who is just coming into her own right now, and Bessie Smith, and you know, everybody after that.
Everybody's nice. So, you're recording.
Oh my honey, better hurry and let's be ended. Ain't you
such as they were able to compile a list of that sort at that time of 1914. And I went online looking for the greatest hits of 1914. And there were a number of Irish songs on that list at the time, and I'm sure our historian can tell us much better, but I'm pretty sure that the Irish tenor was quite a popular phenomenon at the time. Those of you of a certain age will remember it best from Bing Crosby in the movie Going My Way, and you may not realize that it goes all the way back that far. And what else was I going to say? Oh, I would like to dedicate this to my mother, whose name was Margaret Miriam Merrick.
This is 15 miles in the Erie Canal, also known as Low Bridge. Everybody down. It was a song that memorialized the traditions between 1825 and 1880 in New York State, in upstate New York, basically, when mule barges enabled transportation of goods and made boom towns of the cities we now know as Syracuse and Buffalo, not to mention Albany and other places, sort of transformed New York as a whole into the Empire State. So this kind of fits that. It has sort of, I guess a kind of a feel of hard work to it.
There's not too much to know about the origins, because we don't really know about the origins, but it is speculated that it's from the early 19th century. But it has been sung continuously all along since then. More popular in the South than in Appalachia, and that's when I first encountered it, was doing a concert of Southern music. And it was very popularly, again, to people of a certain age will remember it being sung by Burl Ives, who actually gave himself the moniker The Wayfaring Stranger, and indeed his biography is called The Wayfaring Stranger. Those of a little less age might know it from Lou Harris, who actually reached number 7 on the charts in the 80s with her version of Wayfaring Stranger. And I am attempting to do it in the style that might have been done back then, at least the first verse, and then we kind of
wandering through this world of woe, but there's no sorrow, joy, nor danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I know dark clouds will gather around me. I know my ways, rough and steep, yet beauteous fields lie just before me, where God's redeemed their vigils keep. I'm going there to see my mother. She said she'd meet me when I come. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over I am a poor, wayfaring stranger, wandering through this world of woe. But there's no sorrow, toil, nor danger in that bright land to which I go. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only
So, in case you didn't realize, we've just concluded the folk section. We're now entering the classical section. Arthur Foote was a struggling composer, I would say, and underrated in his day. Probably still underrated, but a lot of people do like his music. He supported himself as an organist at the First Unitarian Church of Boston for about 30-something years, from up until about 1920, I think. He wrote a whole bunch of music. This piece that Jonathan and I are going to play is one of 3 pieces that he wrote for oboe and piano, but it's also played for flute and piano, Pastoral. So the next composer we have is Charles Ives. And Laura will tell you a little bit about the song that she's going to be playing.
Sure, yes. Charles Ives also wrote a whole bunch of songs. He is the first American composer who became famous internationally, but I love the fact that he was actually an insurance salesman. That's how he made a living, and music was sort of his side passion, but now he's one of the great American composers. So this song song is based on a poem by Adolf Hayduck, and it was composed in 1895. And I love that back then there was a lot of collaboration between the many different art forms, and so New York City Ballet's ballet master Jerome Robbins took this piece and composed a dancer on it. So enjoy. This is called Songs My Mother Taught Me.
Songs my mother taught me in the days long vanished, seldom from her eyelids, were the teardrops Now I teach my children each melodious measure. Often tears are flowing from my memory's Songs my mother taught me in days long vanished, seldom from her eyelids, were the teardrops
Now, there's one more piece on the program, but I think I have to ask whether we have time for it.
Yes.
Yes. By the way, Arthur Foote, who I played before, was a member of the Boston Six. There were 6 composers in Boston around the turn of the century who, I guess, worked together and inspired each other. They included George Chadwick, Amy Deach, John Knowles Payne, Horatio Parker, and Edward McDowell, who we're going to play a piece by now. Now, he primarily was a piano composer, although he was also a conductor. He conducted the Boston Symphony for 8 years. The piece we're about to play is called To a Wild Rose. It's from his Woodland Sketches, but he did not compose it for flute. It's been transcribed by Paula Robeson. So I hope you'll forgive me for playing something that is not exactly the way it was written initially.
It's just unmerited.